Howdy, y'all. Caleb here, and we finally got in a Age of Sigmar tournament in 3.0. That was a ton of fun. Axton here, you went with me, right?
Mhm.
He was my priority roller at this tournament. It was just a one-dayer. We played 3 games. Oh man, it was a blast. That's one thing that really stuck out to me about finally getting back in a tournament is Warhammer is a ton of fun. Even if you don't win all your games, you're getting to play some great armies, some armies you don't normally play against, and having a ton of fun. So let's look at my list here. Um, I got into this tournament last minute, so I definitely took a fun list. I wasn't gaming this one too hard. I kind of just wanted to play with the models that I had painted up recently. So I took Lord Croak. I didn't really design a list around him. He's really there in this list. This is Thunderlizards, by the way. A Thunderlizards list with Lord Croak. He's really there to just give me command points, be anti-magic, so he can help shut down the magic in the other people's armies, and hand out some buffs as needed. Mystic Shield, letting my people fly, getting those command points, popping some mortals across the board as needed. That's really his role. Kind of expensive for that at 430. I think over the weekend we saw that he really didn't produce enough damage output. I didn't face too many hordes that could really use like Stellar Tempest. I had a chance once, maybe only once to break somebody's artifact. Didn't work on that one, but at least I had the opportunity to do that. Overall, I think he was a little expensive. I don't think he was real competitive. If I'm going to change anything in this list, that might be the piece I change. I also took an Engine of the Gods with Artifact Fusila Conflagration. And that engine is there to help me produce some extra models, get some warriors on the table, as well as heal up my Stegodons as needed. I've got my Stegodon with Skink Chief. He's my general with Prime Warbeast and Cloak of Feathers. And if you've seen the last video, this is my general strategy for this list, is to pump up this Skink Chief, send him across the board, and kill something turn one. Something important. He can usually reach it if you get all the buffs off correctly, and he will absolutely wreck something that he goes into. And so that's kind of the plan with this guy, is to take out something important on the opponent's side and make them deal with that Stegodon turn one. Skink Priest has heal on him, and the Star Priest has Hand of Glory. Hand of Glory is a great spell. Rerolling ones is a lot more rare these days than what it used to be. And so that is a great spell to take on the Star Priest. Also helps me generate command points too, and those are always useful. For my battle line, I took 30 models of Skinks, and so I try to max out a horde of Skinks to really kind of be my second wave. So if we look at what my first strike is the Stegodon on Skink Chief. I'm going to buff him up with both those heroes, send him across the board. And then on turn 2, I'm going to buff up all my Skinks and send them across the board. So I've kind of got 2 waves. And then while Croak and the engine are hopefully summoning some stuff in those first 2 turns, and I've kind of got a long game strategy there. I've also got another 2 Stegodons here, and they will be hanging back with the engine and send them in probably in that 3rd wave once the game gets a little bit closer. At least that was the plan. So I kind of have my 3 waves laid out. I also took Burning Head as my spell. I ended up with 35 points left over, and there's not a whole lot I could massage out of that 35 points and still take all the Stegodons that I wanted to. So I took Burning Head. It's not a bad spell. You can pop it out, send it across the board. As soon as it hits something, it does disappear. But at least it's cheap enough that you'll get some mortals out of it. As long as nobody ends up dispelling it, which happened quite a bit, I think. The times that I cast it got quickly dispelled. So it's a little slow, but it's only 20 points, so I felt like it was worth it. I did get the extra artifact for the Skeet Chief, and that comes out to 1985. I was trying to make sure I got that Triumph. And weirdly enough, I didn't get it in 2 games, even 15 points down. I didn't get it in 2 games, so that was odd. I did have 98 wounds, which I felt like it was a healthy amount for Thunderlizards, and I had 5 drops. I thought 5 drops would get me some turn priorities. I didn't get to choose who goes first once in this entire game. So I think that if you want to be able to choose that, you've got to get those drops even lower. I thought 5 was going to kind of be the average. People taking a Warlord and Battle Regiment or Warlord and Hunters, but 5 drops was actually higher than everybody else I faced this weekend. So there's my list. Definitely a fun list. I think it's kind of an all-around list. It's kind of a mixed arms here. We have some magic phase stuff that we can do. We've got some decent shooting with all the Stegodons and the Skinks. We have a little bit of summoning, and then we have some melee punch from the 3 Stegodons, well, 4 Stegodons. So hopefully all around, kind of dependent on who I came up against. But that was my list for this tournament. On to game 1. All right, game 1 was against Brandon Ridge and Legion of the First Prince. Now, I didn't really know much about this list, and we'll look at it real quick. But Legion of the First Prince, we had a bunch of big giant heroes that was pretty cool. Be'lakor, Kairos, Fate Weaver, a Demon Prince, and a Contorted Epitome. So kind of a little bit of a mixed list there. And then we had some pink horrors, which if you know anything about those are terrible because as soon as you attack them, they start splitting. And that 10 wounds of pink horrors there is really about 50. And they're going to keep coming back. He's also got 2 units of 20 Plague Bearers and the Umbral Spell Portal onto that. And what this list was is it was really a control list. It was gonna get onto the objectives, hold those objectives, and whatever you killed, it's just gonna keep recycling stuff back. And so that's what it's kind of designed to do. He wants to control that magic phase with the Fate Weaver, and then control the board with all his Plague Bearers and Pink Horrors, as well as summoning things. You can summon things from one of these guys. I think you roll 3 dice and you need a 10 or higher. So statistically, you should be able to summon just about every turn, if not every other turn. So you're going to be summoning quite a bit and keep that board control going is what his plan was. So an interesting list. I haven't ever played against this before, so was definitely going to be new. And we can see our deployment here is the battle plan was First Blood, and you set up on these weird corners here, and you can see these deployment zones, and these are always kind of hard to measure out, and you've got to throw all your dice down and everything. We do have 3 objectives here that we're going to be fighting over the middle, and I could see that he's kind of putting his heroes here in the middle, but enough to where he could spread out either side. So I didn't really know which side he was going to go, but I knew I wanted to keep away from these pink horrors. I was planning wherever they were going to go, I'm going to go the opposite directions. I think I can deal with the Plague Bearers. I don't want to get bogged down by those pink horrors, especially on an objective when there's only 3 on the board. And so he outdropped me, and he's going to take first turn. And I don't have a picture of it, but what he does, basically, a very short first turn, is he gets Plague Bearers onto this objective, some pink horrors onto this objective, and those Plague Bearers onto that objective. But he concentrates these 3 bad heroes here, these 3 real nice heroes he's got, right in that middle. And so I know that I'm not going close to that group there in the middle. I'm going to hit these outside tangents, and that's kind of how I've set up. I've got my Skink Chief here, and he's measured on a line to where I can hit these if I had gotten first turn and just slam into those and keep him bogged down for a little bit. But he took first turn. Skinks in there. The support heroes are going to swing up this way, and then I'm just going to take the rest of this force up that way. And we're gonna take all the Stegodons, Engine, and Croak to deal with those guys, and I'm just gonna leave this objective alone for the time being. I don't want to mess with those pink horrors. I don't want to get bogged down with them. So he takes first turn and marches onto the objective. We get to see some of his guys here. This Demon Prince had the Amulet, the 5-up ward save, and I don't recall what everybody else had. Kairos Fate Weaver was gonna throw some mortals through the spell portal. And the Epitome had another artifact of some sort, I think. Just our deployment zones. Here's basically after my turn. So he moved these guys up and moved these Plague Bearers and this Epitome up. At the beginning of my hero phase, I have to do my beginning of hero actions first. And so when I do that, it basically tips my hand. And so I put Finest Hour on the Stegodon. And that gives him the knowledge, okay, he's wanting to do some damage with this guy. He's taking him in somewhere. And so he reveals at that point that Be'lakor has done his ability, which freezes that hero down. Every phase he's going to roll, and if it's a 3-up, my hero cannot do anything that phase. And so it's unavoidable. It's start a hero phase. It's my turn. I've got to go first. And so I tip my hand by giving him Finest Hour. There's nothing I could have avoided doing that. So at that point, it's just like, hopefully I can get lucky and get a couple of 3-ups through. I gave him like 1 or 2 other buffs since I'd already put Finest Hour on him, but not much. I focused most of my energy on these skinks at that point and push the skinks forward. They were able to kill off some of these plague bears, not nearly as many as I had hoped. And I wasn't able to get them in range of the objective because I had failed my my 3-up run and shoot and charge. And so I wanted to be able to at least put some shots on these guys. I was hoping to kill off some of them, but the skinks didn't roll well. Maybe he rolled good saves, and I didn't kill off nearly as many as I wanted. I was able to get a summons here on the Source Warrior from the engine. That was nice. I was able to push onto this objective, and I think I was able to sneak enough guys onto that objective. No, it wasn't on that turn. On the next turn. I was just out of range. So if I had been thinking, I would have moved this engine up to where if I had gotten the summons, they would have been on that objective because I had enough room to do it. He only had like 1 or 2 pinks on it. And so I would have been able to sneak that objective. But I didn't really – it would have been nice. It would have gotten me an extra point that turn, but it is what it is. We got 2 Stegodons here onto this objective and was able to shoot off looks like probably about 6 of those plague bears up there with the Stegodon shots. And I was able to get both of them on the objective, so that counts as 10 models total, and outbody him on that one. I did get my battle tactic, which I think was just conquer maybe, and so I was able to score 3 points. But it was rough not getting this Stegodon chief to do what I wanted to. I really wanted to get him into those plague bears and just wipe them off the board, because if you don't kill one of these units in your turn, they're coming back. So I know that if I didn't make a lot of progress on these units, and in his turn, they're going to be coming back. So that was the plan. Didn't go off yet. So already my strategy for this list is busted up by Be'lakor. So he scored 5 in his for aggressive expansion. I scored 3 in mine. I do take priority, and I decided to go first. Now that was I had to think about it for a second, because if Bellacor's ability lasts longer, it lasts until his next hero phase, I guess. And so he was still rolling for those. I wanted to get that off, but I knew that if I did not go, then he's going to erase all the progress I made on these plague bears on both sides. And so I took the turn, hoping that I could get all these skinks in, finish off this unit, get these Stegodons in, finish off this unit, and now I've got him kind of on his heels. Those 2, tar units that he had, these anvils that he's got to hold me down, are going to be gone, and it's going to put him on his back foot. So I did take the turn. I got priority, and I took the turn, and we sent in these Stegodons. They unfortunately did not do nearly as much damage as I was hoping. He was able to make some saves and able to outlast those 2 Stegodons on this side. The Stegodons, unsupported by the Skink Chief, unfortunately don't do nearly as much as you would want. You need to really stack some buffs onto them. So they killed quite a few, but not enough. I knew they were going to be coming back. Over here, the Skinks, I failed every attempt to do anything with him, except in the shooting. I was able to shoot with him, so I was able to put some extra damage here, and I was able to put all the Skinks into him, fully buffed up, but 2 survived, which stinks, because as soon as you leave 1 alive, they're going to be coming back. I was able to get another summons here with these warriors, right? Mm-hmm. And we ran these guys over, so we made sure. We captured every objective. We captured this one. We definitely had that one. We had 15 wounds on that one, and then we had all our skinks here. He had. I think he had redeployed these guys back a little bit just to try to keep me from charging them. And because I was within 18 of this Dark Prince or Demon Prince, he halves your charges if you're within 18, And so my charge into this guy, I was going to have to roll 2 6s. I was going to have to roll 12 to get into them. And I mean, if I could have gotten into them, I would have easily killed off those plague bears. There were only 2. And the skinks, I mean, they're terrible in combat, but at least you're going to sneak through some mortals. So that was crushing, not getting those last 2 plague bears off the board, because I know that in his turn, in the battle shock phase, he's going to bring some back. In his hero phase, he's going to bring some back. These guys are just going to keep cycling back up, and they're going to cause a problem. But at least I got all 3 objectives. That's going to force him to put pressure here on these warriors, and then maybe I can hit back in my next turn over here. This side over here was kind of hurting. He was down quite a bit, but he's going to be able to bring some of these back. So I did score 5 points in my turn. On to his. I think I was expecting him to be a little bit more aggressive with these heroes here. And I don't know exactly what all they do, but they look scary. So I thought they were going to be coming in earlier, but they kind of hang back to provide some support. You can see he brought back quite a few over here. He brought back some here. One of the stories of this match was Kairos. Kairos Fate Weaver. How many spells did Kairos get off?
None.
Yeah. Kairos, I think in total he got off 1 spell, and that was to get the portal up 1 time. And that was about it. Absolutely abysmal casting from Kairos. Miscast 1 time. The other ones I was shutting down with Croak. It was just a terrible, terrible, terrible showing for Kairos. And I think even Be'lakor was trying to summon each. I think it was Be'lakor. Was trying to summon each turn and just kept failing. 3 dice, rolling 10 up, would roll like an 8 or 9. And so just, there were a couple of dice here that weren't going his way. And that really that kept it from I think, developing his plan as well. My plan hadn't really seen fruition, and I think his plan really hadn't seen fruition yet either. I think in my second turn, Croak miscast on... he miscast on his first cast. So we both miscast in this game, and really kind of takes the wind out of your sails when your 400 to 500 point hero just decides to not do anything that turn. Especially when I've already got 1 hero not doing anything that turn. So he was able to bring some stuff back. He's definitely secured this objective now with his pink horrors, and I think he shot some into these source warriors, but really didn't press too hard with the Demon Prince or the Be'lakor. I think he's really wanting to hang those guys back and just play the attrition game, which, I mean, it's not a bad idea. These Stegodons up here aren't going to kill a whole lot. They're fairly tough against certain units, but this Epitome up here can actually, weirdly, that little support hero, a mirror with 2 little dancing ladies on it, apparently, can do some like pretty hefty mortals. She almost one-shotted this Stegodon, but he stayed alive with maybe 5 wounds left. I mean, it was brutal, but he was able to survive. So that was the end of his turn. He only managed to get 3. He did retake that center objective, but didn't take either of the 2 outside objectives. So at that point, we're tied up, and we're going into roll-off. I do win the roll-off, and let's go back to look at this board here. I do win the roll-off, but I know that if I take it, he's going to remove one of these objectives. Now, in Battle Round 3, you get to remove an objective, and that is a huge addition to Age of Sigmar. That is a massive change, and it swings every single game. That priority roll from 2 to 3 is massive, and it's not always who wins. I mean, because whoever wins, they're gonna have to make that decision. Do I go first or do I lose an objective? And in this case, I was looking at the board, and I know he's going to remove one of the objectives if I go first, and one of mine on the edges. And I think I'm okay with that. I've got quite a few monsters here, and I can keep piling in monsters and bodies here if I need to. If I take this turn, I'm going to be able to tag him down quite a bit. If I don't take the turn, Epitome is 100% going to kill that Stegodon. That Stegodon will not live. It was already low on wounds. He's got a beautiful opening. If he wants to bring Be'lakor down here, Be'lakor moves quite a bit. Could make a big charge. He's gonna tie me up with these pinks, and then he's going to tie me up with these plague bearers. And so I know that if I don't take the turn, I'm going to be bogged down the rest of the game. So I take the turn, and he removes the objectives on the skinks, which is probably the right move. But that's going to free my skinks up for the rest of the game, and now I can wheel them in to put pressure onto this middle objective and to put a bunch of shots. But I do know that by taking the priority, I absolutely have to get rid of those plague bearers and these plague bearers. That's my objective, is to kill off those 2 units to keep them from regenerating again. If he had the turn, he's going to bring even more back from those 2 units, and basically we're starting at ground zero. So I take the turn, and we kill off quite a few of the plague bearers there. I think it looks like we had 4 left. I think we end up killing all of them off. I do bring in the engine, and Croak casts Stellar Tempest on them. That was pretty much the only time he ever got to use that in this tournament. Engine goes in. All these Stegodons are here, and we're able to kill off the Epitome in shooting, actually. I think if we go back and look at this board, my chief, he kind of comes up here preparing to head into this objective on the next turn while I screen out warriors to keep these bad guys off of him. But he's able to shoot into the Epitome from where he's at over here, 24-inch range, and quite a few shots, had a couple buffs on him, and he's able to take out that Epitome for me. And that frees up all 3 of my Stegodons to attack those plague bearers, and they kill off those plague bearers, which gives me Broken Ranks battle tactic and a full 5 points for that mission. And because of the way, I don't think I have a picture of it, but because of the way he had his pinks in here, I had enough warriors. I moved all these warriors in, moved those warriors in just outside of 3, moved him in outside of 6, and I was able to actually outbody him on that objective, which I was surprised at with all of those pink horrors there. And as long as I don't start splitting them and start attacking them, then I'll be okay.
I thought you wanted to do that so you could clog up that middle.
Yeah, that was going to be the plan. Maybe for a turn later was to start attacking them, so I could just make them explode and start clogging up that stuff so that his heroes couldn't get anywhere. We had in his turn we had to take a nice close up picture of this Kairos Fate Weaver, because now this is turn 3 and still failed all the spells. So Kairos was just having a terrible day on that game type. So I think this is after his turn, he's cleared off some of these warriors with the pink horrors, but didn't charge in for some reason. I don't know why he didn't want to charge those in. I think I would have charged those pinks in just to hopefully start getting that explosion rolling so that he could get more bodies on it. So I think I don't think he was going to be able to capture that objective that turn because I had enough bodies in that Stegodon. And so I think I would have attacked just to try to get some extra bodies coming out of there. But over on this side here, he shot in the Demon Prince and Bellicor into that Stegodon that was injured. And when he did that, I when he got close, I redeployed this Stegodon back a little bit just to try to make the charge harder and leave this hurt one out here as the bait. And I think he had a long enough charge, but he really didn't go all the way back in that way. I don't know exactly how tough Bellicor is, but I was afraid that's what he was going to do was by me redeploying back, I opened that door for the engine to get hit. But he didn't take it, and he went into the hurt Stegodon here. He did finally get a summons back here with some bloodletters, I think. Didn't really become part of the equation very much. But one of the great things was this Stegodon. Yeah. Somehow this Stegodon survived. I did have, I think I may have given him all out defense. I can't remember, but he did point his helmet at Bellicor, so he got +1 to his save versus Bellicor. I may have had all out defense on him, maybe, and so he was able to get to make him quite a bit tougher. But just some poor rolls or maybe some good rolls, and that Stegodon survived with like 1 or 2 wounds left. It wasn't much, but it was enough to where it was keeping him, if he gets the next turn, from advancing forward. So he didn't bring down that Stegodon, which was his battle tactic, which was huge because then he got zero points in that turn. And when you get 0 points, what happens? I mean, that's almost game over when you get 0 points because now you're behind the 8 ball big time. You're going to have to play catch up the rest of the game. And as long as I don't put up a goose egg myself, as long as I keep putting a few points on the board, it's pretty much game over at that point. We went ahead and did priority roll, and well, we gave me the win. But let's go back to the board here for a second. So he did win priority, and took it so that he could see if he could if there was something salvageable here. And so he's going to try to kill off this Stegodon in his hero phase, so that way he could push these guys in closer. And so what he did is he popped. He tried to get the portal over there towards the Stegodon, failed the portal. He may have been in range to do the spell that does like 6 flat mortals, which would have straight up killed him. And either failed that or I unbound it as well. And at that point, I think it was just throw your hands up. Kairos is not going to cast anything this this game, and we shook hands at that. And so we, I think it still would have been an uphill battle, even if he had gotten that. He would have been able to put some hurt on these Stegodons here, but I still would have had a lot of beef on this objective, and I still would have had a full units of 30 skinks to push over there. So at that point, I've killed off his 2 anvils, and he actually hadn't killed off a single model of mine yet. So the Stegodons were proven quite tough this game. You can put quite a few buffs on them to keep them going. My engine was double healing every time every chance I got. They did summon me 2 units, which was fantastic. But once I ran the engine up this way to support the Stegodons, I quit even trying for the summons, and I just was double healing everything I could every turn. So overall, a great game. I would have liked to see Kairos make some of his casts so that I think it would have been a little bit closer. I would have liked to have kind of seen my plan come into play where I could shoot this Stegodon forward, but it wasn't going to happen on this one. But great game. Had a ton of fun. Especially seeing Kairos fail all his casts. Any insights from this game, Axton? What you got? Words of wisdom? What performed well?
I liked how we got a lot of the summons from the Engine of the Gods, and
yeah, that was clutch. That got me some bodies going in this way. That kept my Stegodon, who was frozen back here, alive, but also helped me score that objective, which at the time I didn't think was all that important. But once we lost this one, then it was a huge deal to have those bodies on that middle objective so that we could keep that game alive. All right, on to game 2. I'm getting ahead of myself. Game 2. All right, game 2. I want to keep skipping to game 3. Game 2 was against Marcus Miller and his Death OBR Nagash list. So let's look at this list real fast. We are in OCR Bone Reapers with Petrifex Elite, which Petrifex now ignores -1 rend. And if you're a Seraphon player, what's our rend? Everything's -1 rend. And so everything's going to be tough in this army, especially because a lot of it re-rolls in combat. So I want to try to shoot as much as I can against this list. But he's got one big old important piece, his leader, Nagash. What do we learn about Nagash in this game?
That he can cast Arcane Bolt 8 times and holds it up and then charges you and destroys you.
Yeah, so that is one change on the... maybe this has been around for a while. I haven't played Nagash in quite some time. Nagash can hold on to those Arcane Bolts and then release them in any phase. And so he becomes all of a sudden really nasty in combat. When he slams into you, he's gonna dump like 7. I think it was usually about 7. Mm-hmm. 7 D3 mortals into you, which will kill just about anything. So that was pretty impressive. We also had Mercannon, which was like a war band, which this was pretty interesting. 190 points for this hero who's, you get in a hero with an extra, he's a wizard, has some okay melee. but also get you this this Reaper unit, which gives you another a unit in the list, a couple little guys, another option here for grabbing objectives and stuff. So not a bad little pick. We do have 20 Mortek Guard and 20 Mortek Guard, and then 5 Death Riders. I felt okay going against this list. I was thinking that, if I can just ignore Nagash, I feel like I can hit those Mortek Guard and take out one in the first turn, and then on my next turn that I have a chance to take out the other one. I know I'm going to lose some Stegodons to Nagash, but I feel confident that I can take out these units of Mortek with the list that I have planned. So he is at 3 drops, so a very low drop army for this, and he does take turn 1. So let's look at the spread here. We are playing in, let me see what battle plan this was. Okay, this was in Power Struggle, which there's 5 objectives, but the big key here is you can't score them until you've hold them for 2 turns. Like this, you've had to hold them the turn before and then hold them in this turn to finally score. And I think that really plays into the OBR's hands, where they're gonna just sit on these objectives and hold them for as long as possible. And that's exactly what they're good at. Playing that attrition game, send Nagash in to kill stuff, and outlast me through the game. So you can see here, I'm setting up my plan, which was this unit is wave 1, Stegodon, wave 2, Skinks. Over here, we're going to try to send in these Stegodons while we summon in bodies and try to screen out what we can. I've got a lot of beef on this side, but I've got a lot of hit and power on this side. Unfortunately, this is a 22-inch deployment, but I'm confident I can cross that as long as I get my ability off on the Skink Priest that's in the pyramid. But he does set up pretty far back. It was a long charge here. He wasn't on the line. He was maybe about 24 inches from me, and so that's making it a little bit longer, especially if I don't get all the rolls that I need. And so, and he's kind of doing this shape here, which actually makes it really hard later in the game for my Skinks to get him, because I can get some Skinks within 16 of this guy, but if I have my Skinks lined up in a big line here, they're not all going to be within 16. So I have to come up closer, and so that really hurts on my my projection forward when we're this far apart. So fantastic strategy there, putting them in that crescent moon shape there, and we can see Nagash, his little hero and warband was there, and Kavalos' Death Riders that are going to come forward to grab an objective. And so he does take first turn as expected, and apparently his plan with Nagash was to cast Burning Head on himself. Well, he kind of buffs up Nagash a little bit, cast Burning Head on himself, which does damage, and then he can teleport wherever he wants to. So he's going to teleport over here and crush these Skinks turn 1. That was one thing that I noticed a lot of opponents on this tournament just really were focused on this big horde of Skinks. I think they remember from Age of Sigmar 2 when Skinks were like the terror of these lists. Word of warning, they're not that anymore. Let's be honest. In Fangs of Sotek, they could be a little bit better because they can fire with when you're charging them. But I can do that here too. And to be honest, they just don't have the output that they used to. And saves are so good nowadays that all you're worried about are some mortals coming from that wound rolls. And it's not that many. It's like 5. Most things can take that, especially things that have a mortal wound save. So to be honest, let's jump ahead. I'm kind of disappointed in Skinks this tournament. Maybe because I'm playing him in Thunderlizards, but I don't think so. So he does take turn 1. I think I unbound Burning Head from Croak, and so that kind of foiled his plan. And so he was just sitting Nagash back, being a little cagey with him, and he rushed his... Oh, I don't have a picture of it. He rushed his Death Riders forward just to kind of capture this objective, but also to keep some of my focus off of his back Mortek Guard, I think. And so in my turn, I did have to deal with these guys because I can't let him hold him for 2 turns. If I kill him off this turn, then even if he gets the next turn, he's not going to score with those Death Riders. So I do send some shots upfield because I send my Skink Chief over here to deal with these. and I knew he was going to be able to deal with it once I whittled him down a little bit. So I did send some shots up here into the Mortek guard. Ultimately, it wasn't really enough to make too much of a difference, but we did kill off a few of them. So there's the end of turn 1. My Stegodon Chief is holding that middle objective. And I did get another summons. I had some good summoning here in this tournament. So I had at least one summon in the first 2 games. That's not too bad. I'm holding these skinks back to just hold this objective. And once we get control of it in the next turn, then we'll push them forward to start doing some damage. This Stegodon Chief is buffed to the gills. So hopefully that will discourage any offense against him if I don't get the turn, but we'll see. So not a whole lot of points scored there. Oh, so I do get priority. Let's not skip too far ahead. So I get priority. I can't buff him up quite as much as I wanted to. I think he was still in range, like just barely. It doesn't look like it here, but he was just barely within range to get a couple buffs. And then I was able to send him off here. I think I gave him Finest Hour. He's already flying. He's already going 14. I'm going to make it clear across here. Not a problem. That range is easy. And so I push forward to outside of 3 right in here to where I'm on that objective. And I shoot. I put a ton of damage into this Mortek in shooting because I know that's my best bet is to shoot into them. In fact, I shoot them so hard that they're down to 5 guys. Now I'm feeling real confident. I'm feeling real confident with these killing off these 5 Mortek guard. I'm at +1 to run and charge from the Sacred Asterisms. So I'm 6 inches away. I have to make a 5-inch. I have to roll 5 inches on a charge to make it into these guys and kill them off. All I need to do is kill one off to score this objective and keep him from scoring it in his turn. So this is going great. I'm going to remove. This is exactly how my plan was. I'm going to remove 1 more tech unit per turn. Unfortunately, how did my rolls go for the charge?
You failed it, and then you had to spend a command point to re-roll it, and then you failed it again.
Yeah. This is it always comes down to a dice game. That's what it is. And I needed a 5-inch charge, re-rolling, and I fail it. So that's heartbreaking because now I've set this guy up on an island. I don't even score his objective because he's still got 5 models on it. My guy counts as 5. And so I don't score the objective. I have nothing else I can do. I know that in his turn, he's going to start bringing these guys back. He's going to start cycling them back. And now I've laid up this Stegodon to just get walloped by Nagash, which I knew was going to happen anyway. But I'm willing to trade a full unit of 20 Mortek for this Stegodon. But, so again, I've wasted my Finest Hour here. Didn't get him into combat, which I also wasted him on that first turn. But, man, so there's the end of my turn 2. I am starting to move the skinks up, but again, they're just a little too far. I'm not able to push in there, and I don't want to move up too far in case he gets that double turn. I don't want to lay these skinks up to just get crushed by them. And Nagash could easily just teleport back around if needed to onto my objective, and I really don't want that to happen. I did get off Burning Head, which I think I forgot to move in my hero phase. I cast it and then forgot to move it. But it ultimately doesn't really do all that much. So that's the end of my turn there. I was able to score 5. I got Monsters Take Over, get a monster on an objective. That's not too bad. That's a pretty easy one. And then into his turn. So, yep, he charges up Nagash with all those sweet, sweet arcane bolts. And here he comes. And, yep, he pushes Nagash in, brings back some more tech here, brings back some guys, healed this hero. I had done some chip damage to all those things, brought all them back up, and was easily able to kill off that Stegodon. So, wiped that Stegodon off I think he just blew him up with mortals. Do you remember? Was it mortals or combat? I think he just killed him straight up with mortals. And so was able to kill him off. Man, I'm skipping far ahead. So in the next turn, in turn 3, he won priority. and he gave it away. So he gave it to me, and in doing so, he removed this objective here, which is gonna push these guys forward, which I think I was okay with. I was gonna be doing that anyway, but now I have lost my ability to score that objective. So that definitely hurts, and that's gonna hurt in the long run as I don't have another objective back here to keep scoring, because now I've got to take another one and score it for 2 turns before I really start making points on it. Unfortunately, because of the way he was set up here, I had to move closer than I wanted to. These front guys, I think they ended up maybe it was maybe 12 inches away from them. I was able to shoot off some of them, but not nearly as much as I had wanted. These 2 guys focused fires over here. Was able to kill off a few more tech, but not enough, not what I needed. And I sent this Stegodon up to be the sacrificial lamb to Nagash. I knew he was going to kill Nagash. Nagash was going to kill another Stegodon. But I needed him to block for this objective so I could hold this objective to score some more points. I was able to kill off his little wizard guy here and deal with him. Left these 3 guys alive. That's fine. I would have liked to wipe them, but wasn't able to do it. So ultimately, Skinks, killed off 4 more tech. I was kind of hoping for more from 60 shots, but unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So my turn, I did score 4. I had to run. Ferocious Advance. I had to run these 3 units here, and that's fine. They weren't going to do anything anyway, so I ran that for that free battle tactic. In his turn, he was able to bring... Oh, gosh. Let's go back to this map. So in his turn, he had this Mortek Guard. He moved him up 4, and he had to make a 10-inch charge, I think, into these Skinks. He did bring in Nagash. I did a redeploy here. I would have liked to have redeployed these guys back, but they were outside of 9 inches. So they were far enough back. I thought these guys were going to be safe. They were 10 inches back, so I couldn't have even redeployed if I wanted to. So I redeployed this guy back, and they make the charge. They make a 10-inch charge, no rerolls. And at that point, Croak was not rolling well for me for command points. My Skink Chief, my Skink Star Priest wasn't rolling well for command points. My General was already dead, so I wasn't getting command points there. I was really running low on command points. And so at that point, I didn't have a command point. I had spent my last command point on redeploy, trying to get him back. I was hoping for a 6 so I could stay out of range of Nagash, make his charge a 9-inch, and hopefully he would fail that. But I only made like 3 or 4 inches or something. So maybe it would have been better saved here, but these Skinks, they were doing terrible for me anyway. So in hindsight, I probably should have saved it for the Unleash Hell ability to shoot at these Mortek, but it is what it is. I was out of command points, and he gets his Mortek into my guys. He doesn't attack with the Mortek first, and so he attacked over with Nagash, killed off this Stegodon, and I forgot to move that guy in, or maybe I moved it in my next turn, maybe I think is what it was. And these Mortek hit here. I was actually able to punch with the Skinks, and actually they did probably more damage in melee just from the mortals than they actually did in shooting. Skinks can be okay in melee, just as long as you're fishing for those 6s to wound. But how'd the Mortek do? Did they take out some Skinks?
Yeah.
Yeah, they took out quite a few Skinks. I lost just as many to Battle Shock as I did to the actual attacks. So I told myself with this list, you have to have 1 command point in your pocket to save these Skinks. And I was running so low on points. I had to make a sacrifice somewhere. I sacrificed Unleash Hell. I sacrificed Inspiring Presence to try to get that redeploy to save that Stegodon, and it just didn't happen. So I lost quite a few Skinks here. Was able to pull them out of combat though, so that's good. With what was left, so he did score a full 6. So now, I'm starting to see that train rolling. He's getting more points than me in those last 2 turns. I've got to make up some ground, but I don't have an objective. I don't have all my objectives on my side now. I got the turn, and at this point, it was looking kind of. I had one last play, I think, and I was gonna run these Skinks up here, not thinking that I was actually gonna score that objective, but I was gonna pressure him to bring these Mortek back or to attack me here, just to keep them out of the fight over here. I didn't think these Skinks were actually gonna do anything, but I'm pulling them up over there. I run these 2 heroes over here just to put some bodies on the objective and bring the engine up to help control this objective because Nagash was in range, but he didn't have it yet. I killed off the small unit here, started shooting over here, made this Stegodon fly, sent him over this way, was +1 to run in charge, and I needed to make a pretty decent charge, but it may have been 8 or 9 inches. I had +1. I had a reroll from the engine, just failed it. That's what I needed to do to I think stay competitive in this game was to make that charge and finish off those Mortec, and was unable to do it. So I didn't make that charge there. And at that point, I think we may have called the game. No, we played one more round, I think. So I did get Conquer. Oh, I did not get Conquer. That's what I was trying to do. I was going to try to take his objective up at the top left. I did not get that, so I only got 3 points. And that's where it's really going to hurt because I'm going to feed him another point for a monster. He's going to kill this time, and he's still got, I think he may still have Bring It Down. Yeah, he's going to do Bring It Down on this next one. And he just went and attacked this Stegodon here to keep that one from coming in, pulled these guys back. And at that point, it's just I'm not able to keep up with his points that he's generating. And so at that point, I think we shook hands. I never really even attempted to. Yeah, that was the last one there. I never even really attempted to attack Nagash. He is just almost unkillable in that list, especially against my stuff where I don't have a ton of mortal wounds to do, and most of my stuff has -1 rend. So I'm using volume attacks or high damage attacks, but not real good rend. And so I think it came down to me not being able to kill off that Mortec guard up on turn 2, and then him getting priority into turn 3. Those 2 right there is what kind of broke my back on this game, and just kept his points being a little bit higher for mine every turn. And so on his, even if I got in the next turn, I could probably clear off these guys, but I'm not going to have anything I can get back around to his objective. It was just going to be too far. And then Nagash is just going to keep killing off 1 monster per turn with his arcane bolts, and that's scoring him 1 point extra for every monster that he kills. And he didn't have any monsters for me to do that too. I'm obviously not going to be able to kill Nagash in this list. And so it was just kind of an uphill battle at that point. So we call it a game. Great game. It was close, I think. I mean, it doesn't look like it was close based on points, but I think early on, if my strategy had worked, if I had gotten a few things going my way, I think it would have been a lot closer game. So overall, it was fun. We had a ton of fun. Nagash was a beast in this edition, being able to high mobility, high movement, and being able to rack up those arcane bolts. Nasty. Any insights on this one? You were there watching all these games. Mm-hmm. I lost the game. Did I shatter your image of me that I was the best Warhammer player you know?
A little.
So, all right, on to anything. Nagash was awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, on to game 3. All right, game 3 was against Chuck and his Sons of Behemat. This, I was feeling okay against this list until we found. Let's talk about the list first. So, Taker Tribe, I think is pretty standard for these guys nowadays. You've got a Kraken Eater with, I don't know what that does, a Mega Gargant, a Gatebreaker with the Amulet of Destiny. You're always going to see that 5-up ward save on these guys. They got 35 wounds, and so they're going to take that 5-up ward save, make them extremely hard to kill. Another artifact, which I think was like +1 to his wound rolls or something, which is, a good artifact. But this guy here was going to be the one I was going to focus on, this Gatebreaker, because he was not going to be kicking objectives. He didn't have a 5-up ward save, and I think I could take this one down. And then 2 Man Crushers. And, of course, he's at a total of, we don't see the drops here, but he had lower drops than me. So it may have been 3 or 4 drops. No, it's all on a battle regiment. It was 3 drops. 3 drops. So he's going to out-drop me. Some pretty cool behemoths here, whatever they're called. Unfortunately, the battle plan that we're doing in this one was the Titanic Interference. And so it's basically shifting objectives from the old one. And this is the worst possible game type I could have had for this, because we have 3 objectives and he's got 3 Mega Gargants. So it's going to be so hard to score these things. His Kraken Eater's over here, so he's going to kick that one away from me. So I overload this left side. I put some skinks in the middle. If he gives me first turn, I'm going to try to kill off that baby and just score this objective for 1 turn. That's my plan. Maybe do Unleash Hell here on this guy. But I'm confident that not confident. I'm hopeful that my Stegodon Chief can take out this Mega Gargant in my turn. I've done the math. If you've seen my last video, he should be able to do 40 wounds to a 4-up save. More than that, if you get it right. And so I'm going to put everything I can into that Gargant and try to take him down. If I could do that, then maybe I can work it to where I can put 1 down every turn. So he does take turn 1, which isn't surprising. And he marches his guys forward just within 6 to grab that objective, within 6. So he's got, something ridiculous, 50 wounds on that objective. And same here with a little bit of a screen. So he's captured all the objectives. Now it's the game of take these objectives from me, and I bet you can't do it. So I'm going to shift everything over this way. I'm just this objective over here is lost to me. I'm focusing everything on these 2. So I do send in my Skink Chief. But let's go back to this picture here for a second. So one of the failings, which, when you're math hammering out things, you don't always think of this. One of the failings is in my hero phase. I take my heroic actions, and it's the same as game 1. Okay, so I got to do mine first. It's my turn. I do Finest Hour on this guy. And that basically tips my hand. I'm sending this guy in. So he does Finest Hour on this giant because he assumes that's the one I'm going after. And it is, because that's the one that's weaker. I can't take this one down. He's got the 5-up amulet. And so he knows I'm going after this one. So now he's +1 to his save for shooting, for melee. So he's +1 to save. He's got 2 command points in his pocket. And so that's part of the problem of this strategy, I think, is every single turn you're going to tip your hand. If you're going after one of their heroes, they're going to use Finest Hour on that hero. And so if they're not, if they can shut you down somehow, they're going to. They know what your plan is. And so I'm swinging that guy in. I've got to go for it, even though he's got his Finest Hour on. Hopefully we can overcome it. I send all my shooting into him. I shoot everything I can. I think these skinks, I didn't buff these skinks up because all my heroes were buffing this hero. My skinks just shot into here. I think we removed a few wounds, but not too many. This Stegodon comes back over this side, and we shoot all the Stegodons into this Mega Gargant, trying to take him down. But he is +1 to his save. He uses 1 command point in shooting, so now he's at a 2-up save, basically. In theory, he's ignoring 1 Ren, so he's back to a 3-up. So he's ignoring my -1 Ren, basically. That's basically what he's doing. And he's already got his Finest Hour up. So it makes it a really hard target to shoot. But we do get in. Unfortunately, we've got a problem also now in the monstrous actions. And so here's something that I don't always think about when you're just looking at the math hammer of this stuff. So I'm pulling off my monstrous action. I'm trying to make it to where he can't use a command point. He's trying to make it to where I can't use a command point. And so my roll, you have to roll a 3-up. I fail. He rolls a 3-up. So now I can't use a command point. So now I can't use my +1 to all my attacks. And so I'm losing some output here on this Gargant. And he's still able to use another +1 to his save if he wants to. So that's what he does. In combat, he uses another +1 to his save for all-out defense. So now he's essentially at a 2-up save. My -1 Ren takes him to a 3-up. So that's rough. I now also can't use my +1 to attacks on this guy. So we do about what we should have done to him, but it wasn't nearly enough. I mean, I think we did about, in total, we got about 20 damage through, but it wasn't enough. Now, 20 damage to essentially a 2-up save. I'll take that. That's great, but it's just not enough to take this guy down. I need to take 1 giant down per turn to have a chance at this game. If I had sent in another Stegodon, if I could have lined them up a little bit better, sent in another Stegodon, maybe I would have had a better chance. I don't think the other Stegodon is going to do another 15 damage. Let's be honest, he's not going to. Not without being able to put some buffs on him and stuff. And so, unfortunately, my plan failed. I think that was my one shot to stay in this game, to be honestly, because these giants on this game type is brutal. And so I score 0. My one chance was Conquer to take that one objective or bring it down, but we went with Conquer. Wasn't able to do it. Wasn't able to bring the giant down, so I scored 0. So at that point, anytime you score 0 in a game type in Age of Sigmar 3.0, you can almost shake hands. I mean, that's how much these battle tactics and points matter in this game. You have got to put points on the board. So I don't even remember. Do we remember who got priority in this one?
I think you did.
Yep, he got priority. So he sends in another Gargant and takes down that guy. He sends in his other Gargants. We're just going to have some pictures here. Basically kills a bunch of my stuff. And I don't have too many more pictures here, but this is how desperate the game got. I sent in 2 Stegodons and Croak into his Amulet of Destiny Gatebreaker. And so that was pretty funny. Surprisingly, at this point we were just having fun. He put all of his attacks into Croak, and Croak survived. I had Croak on Finest Hour. I think I had Mystic Shield on him maybe. And All Out Defense. I don't even remember what. But Croak survived. He did take some damage, and I had to roll for it, but he survived and he healed all his wounds. So, that was a fun one. But in the end, he does end up killing off. He got the turn. I did score 1 objective points, bring it down. No, I got an objective. I don't even remember what happened there. Maybe I scored an objective or something.
Yeah, you took the middle one.
Oh yeah, I was able to body him off with the skinks
Mm-hmm.
he only had the baby giant on it, and so I was able to score that objective for a whopping 1 point. He scored 8 in his turn. And this is it's down. It's things are going poorly when this is your shot, and so things were going down pretty fast to these giants. To be honest, the Stegodons they survived. I mean, they did decently well. I mean, you could buff against these giants. They had +1 of their save. You could buff them up for another one, Mystic Shield for another one. I mean, they were doing okay. But it was a lot of this came down to like that battle of monstrous abilities. Who was going to get that ability to shut off command points in the hero phase? I mean, that's or in the combat phase. That was pretty huge, to be honest. So, giants coming in, and at the end of it, all we had left was Croak, and that's where we stopped playing. We had been having fun at that point. Great game there. Maybe not so great on the board, but we did have a lot of fun playing against those giants. So, it's tough. I had one shot there, and I couldn't pull it off with that skink chief, and everything went downhill from there. So he scored a lot. I scored 1. So that was game 3. Let's go to a wrap up. All right. So on a wrap up. From the tournament as a whole, what would you say? Anything you learned from the tournament as a whole?
Some of the people there are really good painters.
Oh yeah, definitely some better painters than we are. What about some of the lists? Anything you saw in the list that piqued your interest?
2 people brought Marathi and Gotrek, and at the end, they had to verse each other, and so I went over there to watch them.
Yeah.
And one of the teams lost just because Marathi rolled 2 1s, and she had 3 health left, and he rolled for D3 mortal wounds, and he rolled a 6. Then
yeah, that was top table of the tournament was Marathi Gotrek versus Marathi Gotrek. And I think you're going to be seeing that a lot until Gotrek gets his points changed. It's absolutely absurd that Gotrek went down almost 100 points in Age of Sigmar 3 when everything else went up. And so there were actually 3 out of 14 players at this tournament. There were 3 Gotreks. And so luckily I dodged them all. I had contemplated bringing Gotrek instead of Croak in this list, and it would have obviously done better. I would have been able to kill a Gargant. Maybe I could have killed Nagash. I don't know. I've killed Nagash with Gotrek before, not new Nagash, but I think you're going to see a lot of Gotreks. And I was looking at some NashCon results, and it looked like Gotrek dominated there. So Nagash is definitely a great pick. Overall, in my list, I had a plan. I didn't really get to execute it, unfortunately. Game 1, the opponent shut down my turn 1 Alpha Strike. Game 2, when I did get a chance to pull it off, I failed 2 5-inch charges. So that was terrible. Game 3, it's just, I just couldn't get through those extra saves. So a fun list. I think Skinks and probably Croak, unfortunately, are probably the ones to go. I think you need more in this edition. I feel like you've got to have mortal wound output. I think I've got to re-examine. I think I've got to fit in some salamanders and some chameleon skinks. You've got to have some consistent mortal wound output. These Stegodons, they can do some damage, but that -1 Ren just does not make it through these abilities to pump up all the saves. Stegodons are a ton of fun, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to have Stegodons in my list. Do not worry. I will not disappoint you. Stegodons are definitely my favorite still. They're a lot of fun. They have some great abilities, but I think I need some consistent mortal wound output in this list as well. So I'll be looking to have some different lists that incorporate some more mortal wound output. I think it's just going to be required in this edition with as much as you can stack saves. That was one good thing about Stegodons. I was able to stack their saves up quite a few times and able to keep them alive. They were tough. That -1 damage really came into effect quite a few times, and was able to outlast some stuff. So that was pretty awesome. But overall, a ton of fun. Man, I love Warhammer. It's so much fun, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
even Axon got to roll my priorities for me. So any priority rolls that didn't go my way, that was your fault. No, but we had a lot of fun. If you're in the Dallas area, check out Texas Toy Soldier. That's where the tournament was at. If you need any of your hobby needs, that's where to go. And look us up on the Texas Masters. The season has officially started, so this wasn't my best showing. I went 1-2, not my best showing. So we definitely need to get a little bit better, maybe get some better matchups, and don't fail my charges. Come on. All right, guys. If you've made it this far, you are the real hero. It's looking like it's over an hour. Good grief. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.